Every single Palestinian in the world has been touched by the initial Nakba in some way. We have generational trauma. Either our parents were forcibly displaced, or we ourselves were forcibly displaced. I remember particularly Faris Ouda. Many of you can recall the image of a young Faris Ouda in Gaza, the child in front of the tank. That kid, had he lived, would have been my age now. He's speaking through that picture on a regular basis through his struggle. But if he was alive, he would be speaking on panels and protesting as an adult for the same struggle that claimed his life back then. And that those children that have faced the most brutal army in the world do not stand up against that tyrant alone. You know, the Palestinians represent the culmination of various bigotries against the Muslim world, against Islam, against the Arab, against the other, especially in a Western context. We're not just the villain, we're the most dangerous villain in the movie. Israel is the last colonial project that exists in this part of the world. And in America's imperialism, Israel must exist to extend its interests and expand in order to expand its interests. And that is what multiple scholars have said over time. And so by our existence, we continue to stand in the way of that and serve as a viable obstacle on the way to realizing that full colonial project, that permanent base through which America can continue and Western interests can continue to spread through the region unhindered and unopposed. And then they tell us that our words of liberation are in fact calls to genocide. So don't say intifada anymore, because the word intifada to you represents violence and terrorism.
In December 1987, a false rumor spread that Israelis had murdered 4 Palestinians. Although untrue, this rumor ignited a wildfire of violence and terrorism as the Palestinian population reacted with massive riots and spontaneous attacks against Israelis. For more than 4 years, the uprising that became known as the First Intifada wreaked havoc throughout Israel. Both IDF soldiers and Israeli civilians were targeted. Violent assaults with homemade explosives, hand grenades, and guns were the common tools in terrorists' arsenal, leaving Israelis living in fear and dread. From 2000 to 2002, the Second Intifada caused the deaths of over 300 Israelis from sniper attacks, ambushes, and suicide bombings. Israel called for a ceasefire for 10 days and held its fire. Yet more than 70 attacks were recorded during this time alone, culminating in a suicide bombing at a disco in Tel Aviv, when over 21 people, including 16 teenagers, were killed and more than 90 were injured. The Intifada did not end officially until 2005, when Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak, and King Abdullah II of Jordan met in the Sharm el-Sheikh summit to formalize a ceasefire. Though an agreement was gradually reached, the Second Intifada claimed the lives of around 1,000 Israelis.
And that means that, you know what, if there's genuine anti-Semitism in front of me, every single time an innocent Jewish person or a synagogue is targeted in the United States, I will be the first one to go and stand on the basis of principle and justice and the sanctity of human life to protect that life. For my neighbors, and there are many confused, uninformed, or misinformed Americans in regards to Palestine. Jews have lived in the Muslim world for as long as Islam has existed in the Muslim world. Anti-Semitism is the crime of the West. You have historic Jewish communities in the Muslim world. Show me. Islam was not the problem. Occupation is the problem. If Muslims came and kicked Palestinians out of their land and established an illegal state on their territory and mistreated them the way that Israel is mistreating them, then we would resist that Muslim state. Evils. How much more evil can you get than an average of 10,000 civilians being killed a month? You don't get much more evil than that. And so
Dr. Omar Suleiman, thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.